Sawadee Konka, Dajahao. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. It is a language video this week and today I have decided to go through some of the ways you can tell whether or not you're making progress in the language you're learning. Sometimes it can be really hard to appreciate just how far you've come because you sometimes don't really feel like you've made much progress, but I'm here to tell you that you have made plenty of progress, and using these tips I'm about to mention, this is how you can tell whether or not you have made progress and just how much you have. So without much further ado, let's jump into the video. My first tip or trick or thing is to have a benchmark video, or not necessarily a video, could be a song, any medium, but basically have something you can use as a benchmark. Now for me, there are some Thai videos that I watch that are more teaching videos, and I go back to them periodically to just see if the amount I've understood has increased, because when I first started learning Thai I watched it and there was one in particular that was a quiz, and I think out of the 10 I only got maybe 2 correct. Then at around the 3-month mark I went back, and then that time I was getting about 4 or 5 right. Then at about the 6-month mark I went back again and I got about 6 of them correct. So that's what I do. I periodically go back to this one particular video to just see whether my listening skills have improved and I can understand more now than I could then. Pick something similar, have a video, have a song, have anything that you enjoy reading or watching or doing, and you're able to look back and say, oh wow, well the first time I did this or saw this, heard this, I could only understand X amount, whereas now I can understand X amount. So it really is a quick, easy way to just check your progress against your past actions. Second way that you know whether or not you are progressing in your language, and that is your ability to understand jokes. Don't think that this is just a simple one, it is not. And when I tell you this, when you understand those jokes, it feels like you have unlocked a whole new level of fluency. You're like, this is it, I'm in, no one can tell me anything, this is the language for me now, I'm understanding jokes. And especially if you can crack jokes in the language, then that is definitely a surefire way of knowing you have progressed, because you are now down with the locals, you know exactly what's happening, and you can be dishing and giving those jokes just as much as you are hearing them. The third way to know that you're progressing in the language is the speed at which you can start picking things up. For example, for me, when I first started learning Thai and Chinese, it took me forever to really understand the most basic of principles. It just took a long time for me to really understand what was happening. Fast forward to now, I still take time learning brand new things, but I've noticed that the speed at which I am able to pick up these new matters is a lot quicker than it used to be. I'm really able to cover a lot more topics in the same time span compared to when I first started. I'm just able to really comprehend it a lot easier and just get through it quicker. The fourth way to know you are progressing in your language, and this is one of my favorites, is you no longer have to ask for help in your native language. And when I say this, so I'm talking about in classes or if you're with a language partner and things like that. So with Thai, I still do use English a lot because again, I'm very new on that Thai learning journey. I haven't been learning it as long compared to Chinese. However, in Thai, if I don't really understand something, I normally say, for example, if I didn't know how to say bedroom, I would say, bedroomคืออะไรคะ to like ask what is that. I do have ways I do ask in Thai, but for a lot of stuff I sometimes will just find myself accidentally slipping into English. However, for Chinese, I do 9 out of 10 ask for help in Chinese. So for example, recently I was learning a new way of using a measure word, jia. In my lesson, I would say something, for example, I could say, 为什么我用jia? And that's like me asking, why would I use that? When I don't understand something, I need help, I can use the target language rather than my native language, which for me, I was like, wow, this is great, I've actually progressed. The fifth way to know that you are progressing in the language you're learning is by following the grammar rules. If you find yourself suddenly using them without having to really think too much, you're just doing it naturally, it's coming naturally, you're like, listen, I was born to do this, do not question my excellency, okay? Do not question it. If you're doing it without even thinking, you have definitely progressed, okay? Just think back to when you first started, when grammar was first mentioned, your brain exploded, you were like, I'm never gonna get this, I'm never gonna understand measure words, I'm never gonna understand the rules of the alphabet, I'm never gonna understand any of it. But now you're doing it like a boss. You don't need to even question it. You're like, this is coming naturally, I've got this. Grammar is such a fundamental thing for languages, period, full stop. When you're doing it naturally and you're not having to really work hard on it, my friend, you've progressed. The sixth way to know you have progressed in that language is if you can express yourself in multiple ways. So for example, if you're trying to make a statement like you want to say, hey, how are you? But you've only learnt it, and I'm going to give a Chinese example here, you've only learnt ni hao ma, but then you start progress and you're like, ah, zui jin zi me yang. You're learning how to express the same sort of thing but in different ways. I've got news. Newsflash. Progression. Think of your native language. For me, English, we have so many ways of saying the same thing. Thai, do not get me started, you know how I feel about the multiple words for the same meaning, but that's just the reality of the language. And when you are able to understand all of those multiple words that mean the same thing, you're able to use them interchangeably, you know when to use one and when to use the other. Progression. Beautiful. The seventh way that you know you have progressed, and that is when you're able to pick things up in music and in TV without having to slow it down. So if you're watching it and you're suddenly like, ha, I understood that. You progressed. Just think back when you were a beginner and you heard them speaking full speed in Thai, Chinese, whatever the language is. Full speed, your brain was like, does not compute. You may not get it all. Trust me, I do not get it all. But when I am able to pick up the odd thing, piece it together and understand the general gist of it, I'm like, this is, let's celebrate, okay? Where's the balloons? Where's the confetti? Because even that small thing is such a huge, in my opinion anyway, a huge part of learning, and is a huge milestone that should be celebrated, congratulated, and it is just one more step on the journey to fluency. Now the final thing that is what I think a great measurement of whether or not you're progressing, and that is if you are dreaming in the language. Now I have had this for Thai and Chinese. In my dreams, I am fluent sometimes. Like, the person will speak to me in the language and I'll be replying in the language. I have no idea what I'm saying sometimes in my dreams when I think back. But I am starting to actually dream in the languages, which I think is really cool. My brain can revise for me while I'm sleeping. Thanks. But in all seriousness, if you are starting to dream in the language, this is apparently a really good sign that you are reaching a new level in that language learning journey. You are reaching a new level of fluency, and it is a great indicator of your progression. Now let me know down below if you are dreaming in your language that you're learning, or if you have experienced any of the other things I have said. Now these are just my personal ways I sort of measure my own progression, and so that I can look back and see, so that's where I am. I hope you find those helpful, and if anyone is struggling out there, feeling that they're not progressing, feeling like they haven't made any improvements, do not compare yourself to others, just compare yourself to your previous self. Anyone who is interested in studying and would like any studying materials, please know that I do have an Etsy store which is linked down below. I've created a language learning notebook. That is what I use on my language journey, how I take my notes and sort of formulate all my verbs, my adjectives and all the good stuff. Link is down below, so please do check that out. As that brings me to the end, please do smash the like, smash the share, smash the subscribe, drop a comment down below. We are always engaging down there, so do join us. And there is only one thing left to say, and that is have a blessed day. And until next time, Sawadee tuk kong ka, zaijian. Goodbye everyone.